In this video, I'm going to show you how to adjust the layout of your responses in a specific step in your lead form. So by default, the lead forms out of the box work with a single column setup like this. So every response by default will show up just in one vertical column. This works really well on mobile. But in some cases, you may want to set up your lead form so it looks more like this, with responses appearing horizontally across. Either you could have 4 responses going across 3 responses, or you could break it into a 2x2 column. So we give you a lot of control. You just need to know where to find the setting. So that's what I want to highlight in this video. So the nice thing about how we approach this is you can go into each specific step and adjust the steps layout, the steps response layout. So let's go into, let's see here. So here is an example of a credit score step where all of the responses are appearing in a single column. Now, I actually prefer this, but in some cases, some people may want to adjust it so it's going across as a single row. So let's take a look at how to do that. To adjust this step, we would simply go down to Advanced and go to the Step Layout Override. So this is essentially going to override the default styling of the single vertical row here with all the steps in the single vertical column, I should say. Here you will want to set your response column width to whatever number it takes to get it to look the way you want it to look. You just have to play with it a bit. So if you choose 12, it's going to show up like this. So 12 essentially consolidates the grid width. I'm not going to get too complicated here, but it's going to consolidate things down to one single row. If you want the responses to appear like side by side, you could play around with maybe the response grid with the response column width of 3. Now you'll notice in the preview, it may look a little bit weird because this is not to scale. So what you'll really want to do is preview it here or just add the lead form to your live site to see the way that it's actually going to look on your site. This is just to give you like a directional view of how it's going to look. But you have to keep in mind that due to the fact that we have so many different components on the page, it's not 100% to scale to the way it would actually look on your page. So this is what a response column width of 3 looks like. Or I should say, it will look something like this before it starts to get a bit nicer. So you really just want to play around with the setup. And then if you go to a response column width of 6, that's where you start to get into, I think between 5 and 6, it will break it up into 2 columns. Now it also depends on the number of responses that you have within your step. So let's just say we want them to look like this. I don't mind that design. It would just be a matter of clicking save then up here. And now the form is updated. Now in some cases, you may see it revert back to the way it was. That's a weird little UX quirk that we're working on. If that happens, if you see it kind of get wonky and do some weird stuff, just refresh the page. Usually if the builder does that, I will just go in and refresh the page. There's a lot of complex tasks running in the background, and we're getting a lot of growth right now. So sometimes weird little things like that happens, but it's okay. It's just a matter of refreshing the page, and we're constantly working on improving the system from preventing stuff like that from happening. So let's just take a look at how this looks in the preview. If we go to preview, you'll see that this was the step that I started out by showing you. Now let's try to find that credit score step. Here's the default look and feel. And here's the credit score step. So that is how you go about changing the step layout of a particular step. Now, like I said, the really nice thing about GetLeadForms is you have control over each specific step, because in some cases you may not want each step to be laid out exactly the same. It really depends on your response styling and setup. I hope that helps. If you run into problems with this, or if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you very much.